guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be reviewing the skinny chenille yarn from Loops and Threads, and it's a new yarn. No, it doesn't come in cake form, it comes in a big skein, but because I've already used more than half of the skein on my friend Buster here, the little bear, I had to wind it up in a cake. So we're gonna get real quick into the specs. But before that, two things. I am going to review this yarn and then I'm gonna give you, I guess, a chat or rant about working with Buster and essentially how he ended up getting his name Buster. Anyways, back to the yarn. So this is a size 4 yarn, and the recommended needle and hook size is a 4.5 millimeter. So this is comparably to other yarns a very good or very true size 4 yarn. This is, I think, a very, very, very good alternative for those of us that like to work on our amigurumis using a regular worsted yarn, but want to get the feel of a plush without having to work with that chunky blanket yarn. So this is the best of both worlds, and I really hope that they do keep it. Now, the skinny chenille yarn for Loops and Threads has been around for a while. They have 3 different collections or different options that you can choose from. They have the solids, they have the spotted colors, and then they have this new one called stripes. And it's actually called stripes because, as you can see, our little friend here, all the stripes. And isn't he cute? I got the free pattern. I am going to be putting it in the description underneath. Word of advice and just a caution, the pattern is free, but it does come with 1 or 2 errors that I was able to work around. I think this pattern is better suited for someone that has worked with amigurumi or has made plushies before, at least once, so you know exactly what you're doing. The eyes do come out a little bit wonky. There was no instructions on how or where to place the eyes, so I kind of went by sight, and apparently my sight is pretty bad, just like Buster's, because I don't know, I guess the stripes, instead of helping me, kind of threw me off, and I think I did place them lopsided. Either way, he's cute, he's quite gracious, and I like him. So if you want to give this pattern a try, I'm going to link it underneath. And also, little bow, I ended up doing it myself because I didn't have a ribbon, kind of how the pattern suggested. So it's okay, it's fine. I really like it. All right, so upon working with this yarn, I started with the head, and the first few rounds, I realized that the yarn had some kind of joins or some kind of knots in there, and there were at least 2 very close together. I don't really mind. I'm not someone like, oh my god, this is so horrendous and I'm never using this yarn, or I'm gonna return the yarn. I won't, but it does feel kind of suspicious that the first, I think I was in what, a few rounds, it couldn't have been more than 10 rounds, 8 rounds into the head, where I realized that it had knots. So I don't know, what was that, like maybe under a yard of yarn that into the skein that I already was seeing some knots. So it makes it feel like you're about to have a horrible experience with this yarn. But after that, I don't remember seeing any knots, and actually I don't think I had any knots after that. A few things that I do want to point out. After that, I realized that the yarn throughout the skein isn't constant. Like the fluffiness is sort of how would I put it? In some places it's really fluffy, in some other places it's very thin, and you can feel the string that attaches the fuzzies. I don't know if I'm making any sense. But I'm gonna try. I don't know if I'm making any sense, so let me go get some yarn and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. In some places you can see, I don't know if this is really gonna pick it up, but you can see how this is thinner, or how the fuzzies are not completely fuzzy and all around the yarn. And then over here, you can almost see the thickness change. It's almost flat as opposed to this one being round and fluffy all around. And it's not color specific. Like I said, I had pink parts that were laying flat and very fluffy purple parts. So throughout the yarn, the texture is not uniform. I don't know if you guys are able to see, I have a few gaps. And those were created, I think, because of that string. So in the areas that the chenille yarn was thinner or laying flat, I had more trouble pulling the yarn through. And I'll insert a clip here. So essentially what ends up happening is that once you're going through the last yarn over and pull through of your single crochet, the yarn gets stuck. And so in order to have the yarn pull all the way through, you kind of have to do it a little bit hard. So once you do that, then you end up with a bigger loop. So you have to pull the working yarn to kind of tighten it up around the hook. And if you don't pull it all the way through or tighten it as you should, you end up with a gap on the next row. So that coupled with the fact that this yarn has no stretch, like let me, you see? It's 100% polyester and it's making this noise. It has no give. So you have to keep a constant tension and you have to constantly be pulling it. So that ended up hurting my hands. I don't know if maybe the hook that I used was not the best hook that I could have used, and that is a rant in and of itself. But if you want to stay for that, I will keep ranting, but not right now. I hope you grabbed a whip because this is going to be a long chat. I don't think it's going to be that long, but you know what I mean. So I'm just going to finish my yarn review. Did I like it? Yes, I liked it. Overall, I think the hook that I ended up choosing was not the best option. And I think had I've gone with another kind of hook, I would have enjoyed the experience a little bit better. So when it comes to sewing, I've done my fair share of sewing, especially with amigurumi. You know that once you get this yarn, and if you're going to be using chenille yarn, chances are you are going to be making a plushie or an amigurumi toy. So you're going to inevitably have to do some kind of sewing. Even if you choose a low sew or no sew pattern, chances are you're going to have to weave in one or two ends. So with that being said, I loved using these tapestry needles. One thing that I noticed with the sewing is that these tapestry needles really made my life a whole bunch easier because the tip is pretty pointy. It gets you to where you need to go, especially when you're weaving in the ends or when you're sewing in the parts like the arms, the ears, and you want to be very specific. Like the ears, for example, the pattern doesn't say how to sew them or where or the placement. It just says sew them in there. So you kind of have to have an eye for how are you going to sew them. Are you going to sew them in a diagonal compared, you know, if this is the head, diagonally if you're going to go straight ahead, and you kind of use the stitches and the rows to guide yourself. And being precise is very important because then you're going to have to undo it, and that can be a pain in the ass, especially if you are working with chenille yarn. Now that did happen to me. I did have to sew or undo one of the ears that I had already sewn, and it wasn't that difficult, you know, surprisingly. I didn't have any problems taking it out, which was a huge plus. The yarn that I was working with ended up tearing because I hulked my way into one of the ears, and that was kind of sucky. So yeah, don't pull it too hard. You will eventually rip it. And you heard the noise. I was going pretty hard pulling on that yarn to make that noise. So I did. It was user error. I really pulled too hard for that to snap, so my bad. Regardless, these tapestry needles really helped make the sewing and the weaving in really easy. I know some people tend to avoid using the magic circle if they're going to be working with these kinds of yarns, but I didn't have any issues given that I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 magic circles because there's 9 pieces in that bear, so I made 9 magic circles and I didn't have any problems with any one of them. So I liked it. I like that a lot because I like using the magic circle to start the projects. Let's see, what else can I say? Oh, make that number 10. That's part of the video that I was putting in here. So I didn't film the process of me making Buster because that was like me time. I didn't want to feel pressured into just recording every single thing that I crochet or every single time that I sit down. I have to put up a camera. So I didn't, and I do apologize for that. But even now that I was sitting down to record, I could still like, I had the same issue. I liked it. Am I going to be buying more? Absolutely. I see myself buying more of this yarn, especially in other kinds of colors, just to kind of combine with this yarn. And just finish this off, I have 17 grams of this yarn left here. And let me tell you how much actually comes in the skein. The skein actually comes with 220 grams. So I used a good chunk. I want to say I used what, like 200 grams for the teddy bear, which is quite a good amount of yarn for the price. This was $9.99, and I think Michael's is running a sale right now where you buy one, you get the second one 50% off. So it's definitely a good size teddy bear, and it's a good amount of yarn. I still have 17 grams here, so definitely will be buying more. I think I'll probably buy other kinds of colors, maybe a solid color to complement this purple and just, use it up. All right, so I think the yarn review part is over. If you made it this far, thank you so much for being here. And if you're crocheting and you just want to hear more of the video and you were like, okay, well, I'm already here, might as well sit down and listen to this old lady yap, well, then just stick around. So my next part of the rant and why Buster came to be Buster. So this yarn, like I've said, I chose the wrong hook. I think it ended up being to where my hands hurt more than usual because I chose the wrong hook. All right, so as you can see here, I have my own little army of bunnies right here. I have 3 over here and I have 1 over there on my table that I still have to finish sewing the bunny ears and the little legs and arms. And that was actually my first rodeo with skinny yarn, and this is what I have left over. So I got this yarn from Amazon and I loved working with it. This one felt smooth like butter, and I really fell in love with this yarn, which is why I ended up buying this yarn at Michael's when I saw it, because I had already tried skinny chenille yarn and I fell in love with it. As I said before, I really like making small amigurumi toys with size number 4 yarn. I feel like I get more control with that yarn. I feel like I can add more details to the toys or to the stuff that I make. So I just tend to gravitate more towards a size number 4 yarn. So this was the first time I tried skinny chenille yarn and I fell in love with it. Now, all of these bunnies are made with a different kind of hook because I really wanted to see what worked best. And I tried first this hook. This is a size number 4 or a size G, which is not a size G. Let me tell you. Well, yeah, no, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to rant right now. So I'm going to tell you. This is not a size G. It unfortunately sucks, but for this company, it is a size G. And for this company, this is a size number 4 hook. That's just what they're labeling them. What company is this? I don't know. This hook actually came with one of the blocking boards that I bought off of Amazon. And at the time, I was like, ooh, nice. A cheap blocking board with a free hook. You can never go wrong with hooks. You can never have too many hooks. So I said, why the heck not? And I bought it. I liked it. It came with a hook, with this hook, I don't know, like 5 or 10 stitch markers and then a few of the tapestry needles. So I really liked it. I was like, okay, cool. I'm getting some a good deal because I'm buying the blocking board and all these nice little things that they're always nice to have. I really do like using this hook. I think I've used it for cotton and of course for acrylic, and I liked it. The one thing that I didn't like using it for was for one of the bunnies because if you can see here, this is an extra large hook. The middle portion is longer, and when, for me personally, my train of thought is if you are using, say for example, short stitches or smaller stitches like single crochets, and if you're working with smaller yarn, it's more beneficial to have a shorter shaft than a longer one because using a longer one, you really have to make your movements more pronounced or longer. So if you're using smaller yarn or simple single crochet stitches, then you really don't need all that much space. You're only doing what, 2-3 loops in your hook. You don't need that much space. So I really liked it. It was fine working my very first bunny, but I ended up changing my hook. So this is a day sew hook. And let me tell you, if you have not visited a day sew near you, you're missing out. If you have one near you, go check it out. It's a Japanese dollar store. Not everything is a dollar, but they are still very affordable and they have a lot of things, a lot of nice things that you would find at the dollar store or Dollar Tree, but they're very nice quality. I have quite a few things that I've bought there that I have personally enjoyed using. And they do have a small craft selection, but it packs a punch. They have knitting and crochet tools and notions, as well as yarn. They do have yarn. And what else have I seen there? Oh, felt supplies or felting supplies. So that is something that if you do pursue one of those hobbies, definitely check Daiso out. And this little hook is only 125, 175. I don't know. It's under $2. And this hook, if you look at it, this is a size number 4 hook. And this is where your thumb goes, and it has a little dip to where your thumb can easily fit here. And then on the other side, it has like this bump, and you see how it's curved? It conforms to the shape of your hand. And this bump here almost matches with the indentation or the fold of your index finger. So you can grab it like this. Ain't it cool? And look, I've looked around for these kinds of hooks on Amazon, on a lot of places, and I haven't found anything like it. So I have 2 of these 4mm hooks, I have 2 of the 5mm hooks, and I have 1 of the 3mm hooks. And I think that these are the only sizes that they make in an ergonomic finish like this. The other sizes that they do have are, I think they're like that glittery resin acrylic kind of hook. I haven't personally tried them, but my sister swears by them. So I don't know, it might be worth checking out. Now, this is the hook that I like to use for a lot of things, especially if I'm working with simple stitches because I don't really need that much space here. If I was working, I don't know, maybe like on a puff stitch or a fan stitch or something where I would need more room for loops, I would definitely go for this kind of hook. But because this is amigurumi, you're working with a very small yarn, this is perfectly fine. So I was loving working with this yarn for my cute little bunnies, and this is where I made the mistake. Oops. The pattern calls for a size G. And I said, G, I have that G. And this is a boy hook. And I'm like, yeah, I'll use the G. Fine, I'll follow the pattern. Boy, was I led astray. So I did use my size G hook for one of the bunnies. Which one? I don't know. It's one of those. I think it's this one. I really want to say it's this one. I could be wrong. It's probably the one that's sitting on my table. Regardless, I made one bunny with one of these hooks. They're all here. So it's very unfortunate that I chose to follow the pattern. I should have just followed my heart. But then again, my heart was like, no, follow the pattern. Here we are. The only reason why I think I had such a hard time with the bear was because this is not an ergonomic hook and it sucked. I by the time that I was doing the legs and the arms of the bear, I was already fed up. Not with the pattern, not with the yarn, but with the idea of having to do this, which is something that you don't want to feel when you're crocheting. And well, it just sucked. So I toughed it out and it got me thinking, hey, well, why can I interchange this size G with this size G? And I did a quick Google search, and it turns out that the boy size G hook is not a 4.0 millimeter hook. It's actually a 4.25 millimeter hook. So it's slightly bigger than this. So I knew what I was getting into. I know this was going to be a different size, but I was like, well, can I interchange them? And no, I can't. I could, but I shouldn't. Why? Because the head was already done in this size. And I was having to work the rest of the body in this size. So it was going to inevitably be smaller. Now you see the head is already big compared to the rest of the body. And if I would have gone on and changed to a 4.0 millimeter hook, the body and the appendages would have just looked completely off and just, it would have been terrible. Now, there is absolutely zero standardization to companies. Now, why do I say this? This is not a size G hook. Regardless of what they want to say, this is not a size G, and they can't put a size G, but they're going to. Right. And I'm just a quick timeout to add insult to injury. I knew that the size G boy hook is a 4.25 millimeter hook. What ended up tripping me up was that I saw the G in that 4 millimeter hook, that blue one. And I was like, oh, it's fine. I can just interchange them. And that's probably what I was thinking of when I read the pattern. Oh, I have a G. I have two G's. Yeah, I can use it. And that's what I almost always end up doing. If I start feeling uncomfortable with a hook, I'll switch it out. I'm like, okay, this is not working for this kind of fiber. I'll switch it to a metal hook. I'll switch it up to a plastic hook, whatever, ergonomic versus non ergonomic. And I like that freedom. And it really irritated me, I guess, when I realized that that hook, that's a 4.0 millimeter hook, has a G in it and it has no business having a G in it. But like I said, they're going to do it. They're going to put it because there's no standardization. And there's no one saying or calling out companies like, hey, this is not a 5 millimeter hook, or this is not a G, this is not an H. And there's just no way of having all of your hooks be the same across different companies. Every company chooses what they're going to label their hooks, and it sucks. So yeah, it was my fault. At the end of the day, it was my fault. I shouldn't have followed my heart. I shouldn't have followed the pattern. But here we are. Anyways, I just wanted to add that point of clarification. I want to make my point across. I am irritated that there is no standardization in the crochet hook space. I really want to be fair with the yarn because it more than likely was me choosing the wrong yarn that really made my hands hurt and why Buster busted my wrist. Because I have tried this hook before, and acrylic almost always tends to have a little bit of give, so your hands don't really hurt. Now, so I did crochet with cotton, and you know, cotton has no stretch, no give, and I tried one of these hooks, the 5.5 hook. I don't have it with me. It's probably somewhere in the crochet bag, but it's this hook, and you can tell I just love these hooks. I have all the sizes. And yeah, so I used the 5.5 hook and I got that yarn from the Hobby Lobby. I think that video is up already and you can find it here. I'll link it as well if you want to see the kind of yarn that I got or you are interested in that haul. But yeah, I've already used that cotton yarn and my hands, my wrists actually don't hurt at all. So I really do think that the problem was this hook. And comparably, cotton has absolutely no give. So yeah, I just wanted to be fair with the yarn. I do think that it was mostly my fault, but I really like these colors. I don't know, maybe it's the bunnies, maybe it's because I'm a spring baby, maybe I'm in my pastel era. I don't know. But I really enjoy this colorway. I might just end up ordering more of this yarn. I don't know yet. I might just buy both of them, this one and another color of the yarn. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but regardless, I had fun making the bunnies and overall the bear wasn't that bad. I do enjoy having him. I'm glad I was able to finish it and just push through. But yeah, my wrists feel better. I am not in pain anymore. Yay! And yeah, I haven't felt that pain um, since working on Buster, which is kind of good. It's a good sign that it wasn't my wrist um, quitting on me and it was just the hook. So yeah, absolutely use the right hook for the right yarn. I've always said this. Definitely always check that the yarn that the hook and the yarn that you're using are compatible. Chances are it's not the yarn that you don't like or it's not the hook that you don't like. Maybe it's just the combination is probably not the best. But yeah, just my 2 cents. I really do hope that they keep this yarn around. I really like the idea of the plushy feel without the bulkiness. Like imagine making a cute little beanie with that yarn without the clunkiness or the excessive bulkiness of a regular old blanket or chenille yarn, or a nice cute warm scarf without it feeling like it's swallowing you alive. So yeah, I can definitely see the very uses and the very different purposes of this yarn, especially because it's so versatile. Like it's a size 4 yarn. You're definitely going to find a lot of patterns with this size yarn and it's a very decent amount. So I'm very pleased. Am I going to be buying? Heck yeah, absolutely. So yeah, those are just my 2 cents on this yarn. And if you made it this far, leave it a thumbs up and better yet, subscribe. All right, bye.